Respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you command through your actions, demeanor, and mindset. In a world where appearances often overshadow substance, commanding respect requires more than just words. It's about how you carry yourself, how you respond to challenges, and how you hold your ground without ever losing your composure. Have you ever wondered why some people naturally inspire admiration the moment they enter a room? What is it about them that draws others in and compels respect? It's not their title, wealth, or even their words. It's their presence, their unshakable confidence, and their ability to remain composed under any circumstance. Today, we're diving deep into the timeless lessons of Stoic philosophy to uncover the habits, strategies, and mindsets that instantly command respect. From mastering the art of first impressions to standing firm in your boundaries, we'll explore actionable insights that can transform the way others perceive you. But remember, this isn't about arrogance or manipulation. Stoic philosophy teaches us that respect begins with self-respect. By embodying these principles, you're not just earning the admiration of others, you're becoming the best version of yourself. If you're ready to step into your power and command respect with quiet confidence, let's begin. Number 1, the power of the first impression. Respect often begins in the first few moments of meeting someone. Before you speak, before you explain who you are, people are already forming opinions about you. What are they basing those judgments on? The answer lies in your actions, your handshake, your posture, your demeanor. These subtle yet powerful signals send a message about who you are and whether you're worthy of respect. A first impression is more than just an interaction. It's a statement. A firm handshake communicates steadiness and confidence. Eye contact shows sincerity and attention. A calm, composed posture reflects control over your emotions. These actions create an immediate perception of who you are, often before words come into play. The Stoics understood the significance of self-presentation. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This strength, the control over your own behavior, becomes your greatest asset in making an impression." But what happens when we fail to harness this strength? Too often, nerves or insecurity creep in. Maybe you've avoided eye contact, thinking it would make you appear humble, or perhaps your handshake was weak because you were unsure of yourself. These seemingly small missteps can send the wrong signals, undermining the respect you aim to command. I've been there. Early in my career, I attended a networking event filled with influential professionals. My anxiety overwhelmed me. I avoided direct eye contact, gave timid handshakes, and blended into the background. The result? I left the event without forming a single meaningful connection. That experience taught me a hard truth. If you don't respect yourself in those initial moments, no one else will either. So, how do you master the art of the first impression? It begins with intention. Walk into every interaction with purpose. Straighten your posture. This alone speaks volumes about your confidence. Offer a firm handshake, not as a formality, but as an act of connection. Look people in the eye, showing that you're present and engaged. Remember, the first impression isn't about perfection, it's about authenticity. People respect those who carry themselves with quiet confidence, not arrogance. When your actions align with who you truly are, they create a lasting impact. The Stoics remind us that commanding respect starts with how you carry yourself. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." When you understand your value, you naturally present yourself in a way that others respect. Here's a challenge for you. The next time you meet someone new, whether it's a colleague, a stranger, or a potential friend, pause for a moment. Focus on your posture. Make eye contact. Offer a handshake that is both firm and genuine. Observe how their reaction shifts. You'll notice it, a subtle but unmistakable acknowledgement of respect. First impressions may seem small, but they set the stage for every interaction that follows. By mastering those first few moments, you're not just commanding respect, you're laying the foundation for trust, connection, and influence. Respect begins with you. When you respect yourself, others can't help but follow suit. Number 2, use questions to command attention. Respect isn't always given freely. Sometimes it needs to be earned, and other times it must be reclaimed. What do you do when someone disrespects you? How do you respond when a remark or action feels like a challenge to your dignity? Many of us are tempted to react emotionally, to argue, to lash out, or to walk away. But there's a better way, one that commands attention without creating unnecessary conflict. Instead of reacting, ask a question. Consider this: when someone disrespects you, calmly asking, "What do you mean by that?" can change the entire dynamic. This simple question is powerful. It shifts the focus, putting the responsibility back on the other person while keeping you composed. It forces them to pause and reflect on their words or actions. The Stoics often emphasize the importance of maintaining control over your emotions. Marcus Aurelius said, "You always have the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you cannot control." By asking a question instead of reacting impulsively, you assert control over the situation and yourself. But why does this work? It works because questions create clarity. When you calmly ask, "What do you mean by that?" you're signaling that you're not going to engage in a reactive back and forth. Instead, you're inviting the other person to explain themselves. This often catches them off guard. They might not have expected you to respond with such calm confidence. Let me share an example. Early in my career, I was in a meeting where a colleague made a sarcastic comment about my presentation. It stung, and my first instinct was to defend myself. But instead, I paused, took a breath, and calmly asked, "Can you clarify what you mean by that?" The room went quiet. My colleague, now on the spot, stumbled to explain their remark. It quickly became clear that their comment had no substance. It was just an attempt to undermine me. By using a question, I maintained my composure, redirected the attention, and exposed the pettiness without ever raising my voice. This approach doesn't just protect your dignity, it earns respect. When you respond to disrespect with calm curiosity rather than anger, you show strength and self-control. The Stoics remind us that true power lies in how we respond to challenges. But how do you apply this in your own life? It starts with mindfulness. The next time someone says something disrespectful, resist the urge to react immediately. Take a moment, breathe, then ask a question. It could be as simple as, "Can you explain what you mean?" or "Why do you feel that way?" These questions do more than diffuse the situation. They demonstrate that you're not easily rattled. They command attention without creating conflict. Remember, commanding respect isn't about being the loudest or most aggressive person in the room. It's about showing composure, curiosity, and confidence. Even in the face of disrespect, by asking the right questions, you take control of the conversation and the narrative. You transform moments of potential conflict into opportunities to showcase your strength. That's how you command attention and respect. Number 3, neutralize insults with self-confidence. Insults can catch us off guard, striking at our self-esteem and testing our patience. The natural response for many is to get defensive or retaliate. But what if there's a better way? A way to rise above the negativity, maintain your dignity, and even turn the tables. When someone tries to undermine you, the most effective weapon isn't anger or revenge, it's confidence. A calm smile, a light-hearted comment, or even silence can do more to disarm hostility than any heated response ever could. The Stoics understood this approach well. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When faced with an insult, it's not the words themselves that hurt, it's the power you give them. Neutralizing insults is about refusing to let someone else dictate your emotions. But why does confidence work so effectively against hostility? First, it shows strength. When you respond to an insult with composure, you signal that you're unfazed, that their attempt to provoke you has failed. Second, it reflects emotional intelligence. A light-hearted comment or a calm acknowledgement often diffuses tension and leaves the other person scrambling for their next move. Let me share a personal example. Early in my career, I was in a meeting where a colleague made a snide remark about my experience, implying I wasn't qualified to contribute. The room fell silent and all eyes turned to me. My heart raced, but I took a deep breath, smiled and said, "Well, I guess we'll see if beginner's luck works in my favor today." The tension in the room immediately lifted as laughter broke out. My colleague's attempt to undermine me had backfired. Instead of appearing rattled, I came across as confident and self-assured. That moment taught me a valuable lesson. Insults lose their sting when met with calmness and humor. Now let's be clear, neutralizing insults doesn't mean ignoring every slight or letting people walk over you. It's about choosing your battles and responding in a way that maintains your dignity. If someone's comment crosses a line, you can address it firmly but respectfully. For example, you might say, "I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Could you clarify?" This approach forces the other person to rethink their words without escalating the situation. So, how can you apply this in your own life? Start by remembering that insults are often a reflection of the person delivering them, not you. Their words say more about their insecurities than they do about your worth. When confronted with hostility, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what response aligns with my values? Then, act with confidence. If you choose to acknowledge the insult, do it calmly, perhaps with a smile or a playful comment that diffuses the tension. Confidence isn't about pretending insults don't affect you. It's about showing that they don't control you. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." By neutralizing insults with self-confidence, you not only protect your self-esteem, but also earn the respect of those around you. People admire those who can rise above pettiness and handle challenges with grace. Remember, the best way to respond to hostility is to show that it doesn't define you. Your confidence is your greatest shield and your greatest strength. Number 4, set boundaries without explanation. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to command respect. Yet, for many of us, it's a daunting task. Why? Because we feel the need to justify our limits, to explain ourselves, to soften the blow, or to ensure we don't offend anyone. But here's the truth, respect doesn't come from over-explaining. It comes from confidence. Simply saying, "I'm not comfortable with this," and moving on is often all you need. The Stoics understood the importance of simplicity and self-respect in maintaining boundaries. Epictetus said, "No one is free who is not master of himself." When you set boundaries without explanation, you're asserting that you value your own comfort and principles above the need for external validation. Why does this work? Because when you state your limits clearly and without justification, you send a powerful message: I trust my judgment and I don't need your approval. This kind of confidence commands respect. People may not always agree with your boundary, but they'll recognize your strength in upholding it. Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, a friend repeatedly asked me to join a weekend activity that I wasn't interested in. At first, I tried to decline politely, offering excuses about being busy. But each time, they pushed back, insisting I make time. Eventually, I realized I was overcomplicating the situation. The next time they asked, I simply said, "I appreciate the invite, but I'm not comfortable with this." Then I left it at that. To my surprise, there was no argument, no further pressure, just a simple acknowledgement of my decision. That moment taught me an important lesson. When you stop justifying your boundaries, you leave no room for debate. People are far less likely to challenge your limits when you present them with calm confidence. So, how can you apply this in your own life? Start by understanding that your boundaries are valid. You don't need to explain or defend them to anyone. When faced with a situation that crosses your limits, respond with clarity and brevity. Say, "I'm not comfortable with this," or "This doesn't work for me," then move on. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to over-explaining. But over time, you'll notice a shift, not just in how others treat you, but in how you see yourself. You'll feel stronger, more self-assured, and more in control of your life. The Stoics remind us that true freedom comes from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." By setting boundaries without explanation, you embody this principle. You show others and yourself that your values and well-being are non-negotiable. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about being harsh or unkind. It's about protecting what matters to you. And when you do so with calm confidence, you create healthier, more respectful relationships. So the next time someone tests your limits, resist the urge to explain. Stand firm, state your boundary, and trust that your self-respect speaks louder than any justification ever could. Number 5, give respect sparingly, not freely. Respect is one of the most valuable currencies in human relationships. But here's the thing, it loses its value when it's given freely, without consideration. While basic politeness and decency should be extended to everyone, deeper respect is something that should be earned, not handed out automatically. The Stoics understood this principle well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The way we choose to respect others reflects how we value ourselves. By giving respect sparingly, we ensure that it remains meaningful, both to us and to those we extend it to. But why is this important? Because not everyone deserves your respect on a deeper level. Mutual respect is built on trust, shared values, and integrity. When you give it too freely, it risks being taken for granted, or worse, exploited. True respect should be reserved for those who earn it through their actions, character, and how they treat others. Let me share a story. Early in my career, I worked closely with someone who, at first glance, seemed highly competent and charismatic. I admired them immediately, treating them with deference and respect, but over time I noticed a pattern. Their words didn't align with their actions. They often took credit for others' work and avoided accountability when things went wrong. Initially, I struggled to adjust my perception. I thought respect was something I had to give unconditionally. But then I realized that by continuing to respect them despite their actions, I was devaluing my own standards. From that moment on, I maintained politeness, but withdrew my deeper respect. This shift didn't go unnoticed. They began to treat me differently, not with hostility, but with a cautious awareness that I wasn't easily swayed anymore. It was a powerful reminder: respect, when given sparingly, commands attention. So, how can you apply this principle in your own life? Start by distinguishing between basic courtesy and deeper respect. Politeness should always be extended. It's the foundation of good communication and mutual understanding. But deeper respect? That should be based on trust and authenticity. When you meet someone new, observe their actions over time. Do they live up to their words? Do they treat others with kindness and fairness? If the answer is yes, they've earned your respect. If not, maintain your politeness, but protect your deeper admiration. The Stoics remind us that respect for others begins with respect for ourselves. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." By being discerning in who we respect, we uphold our own values and set a standard for how we wish to be treated. This doesn't mean withholding respect out of arrogance or superiority. It means recognizing that respect, like trust, is built over time. When you give it too freely, it loses its weight. When you reserve it for those who truly deserve it, it becomes a powerful gesture. Remember, respect is mutual, but it's not automatic. Treat others with kindness and politeness, but let your deeper respect be something earned. In doing so, you honor yourself and ensure that your respect remains a meaningful and valuable gift. If you've watched the video this far, make sure to comment "Thank God" to let us know you're with us. Number 6, speak last in discussions. Discussions, especially heated ones, often feel like a race to be heard. Everyone wants to get their point across, to prove their perspective is right, and to leave a lasting impression. But here's a paradox. The person who speaks last often commands the most respect. Why? Because speaking last isn't about silence or passivity. It's about strategy. It shows you're listening, processing, and thinking critically. By letting others voice their opinions first, you gather valuable insights, avoid premature judgments, and respond with authority. The Stoics understood the power of restraint in communication. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Speaking last is an act of restraint and strength, demonstrating that you value thoughtfulness over impulsiveness. But let's break this down. What happens when you let others speak first? First, you show respect. By giving others the floor, you communicate that their opinions matter. This alone earns you admiration. Second, you gain clarity. Listening reveals the nuances of the discussion, helping you respond with precision. And third, you project confidence. When you speak last, it's not because you're hesitant, it's because you're deliberate. I learned this lesson early in my career during team meetings. At first, I was eager to share my ideas right away, thinking that speaking first showed initiative. But over time, I noticed that the leaders I admired most often stayed quiet at the start of discussions. They listened attentively, asked insightful questions, and only spoke after everyone else had their say. One day, I decided to try their approach. In a meeting where tensions were high, I resisted the urge to jump in. Instead, I listened carefully as each person spoke. When it was my turn, I summarized the key points, addressed concerns, and proposed a solution that took everyone's input into account. The response was immediate. Colleagues nodded in agreement, and the energy in the room shifted. By speaking last, I not only commanded attention but also gained their trust and respect. So how can you apply this in your own life? Start by cultivating patience. In your next discussion, resist the urge to jump in right away. Focus on truly listening, not just to the words being spoken, but to the emotions and intentions behind them. When it's your turn to speak, take a moment to pause. Summarize what you've heard to show you understand, and then share your perspective thoughtfully. This approach not only demonstrates leadership, but also fosters collaboration and trust. The Stoics remind us that wisdom often lies in listening more than speaking. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." By speaking last, you embody this principle. Remember, speaking last isn't about waiting for the sake of waiting. It's about showing that you value reflection over reaction, thoughtfulness over haste. In a world where everyone is eager to be heard, your willingness to pause, listen, and then speak will set you apart. By mastering the art of speaking last, you not only command respect, you lead with authority and wisdom. If any of the points resonated with you, be sure to comment, "Thank God I learned it," to share your thoughts and let us know how it connected.